Hi everyone, Cem Tezcan here. In this video, I'm going to show you how to create these pills with Substance Designer. You will see that we have some height map modeling here, and also for the backside, we have PBR textures also created procedurally with Substance Designer. And you can see the other shots of these pills, and we will be creating this grip pattern and general pill shapes with Designer. And also, let me show you the reference images right here. Sorry for also blurring the original brands of these pills, but you will see that we have some wrinkles here, a grip pattern here, and also some horizontal lines, which I don't know why they are existed on the 3D reference photos, but possibly the machining process or the mass production of these pills causes these marks on the backside of these pills. And for the front, you will see that we have these pill shapes blistered through the aluminum, I suppose. So let's switch to the Designer graph, and you will see that we have not much of a complicated graph in front of us. And here in the 3D view, you will see the backside of this generated texture. Let me show you much bigger. And you will see that I generated the similar wrinkles on the edges, and also the horizontal lines exists on this PBR texture as well. So here, for the first part, I generated the branding. So I made up these brands and the pill names. So you will see the general texts are generated with text node. So by using this black and white text nodes, I mixed these two colors to generate a white background and green brand name. And then I mixed or blended the rest of the texts with black color, and you will see that the rest of the brand is generated like that. On the last part, I used a transformation 2D node to rotate the brand in 45 degrees. And next I tiled all the sets, and by there I used another transformation node to move this white color to the bottom and blend the white color to remove the bottom side of this tile, because here you see that I made up a patent number here, and for this pole we need to remove this branding. So I blend it with the white color here to remove the tile at the bottom of the canvas. You will see that some of the transformation 2D nodes are not tiling, because my general graph, if I click to a blank space on my graph, you will see that tiling mode is set to no tiling. This means if I move this white color to the bottom, the matte color, which is black, will be shown from the background. If I had another transformation 2D node, which is set by tiling mode as HNV tiling, I wouldn't be able to move this white color like this, because if I move that, since it tries to tile this white color, it won't be removing it from the background. So for that, the tiling mode is generally set as no tiling for the graph, but you see that I did a tiling here, so I set this tiling mode of the specific node to HMV tiling. So that made me able to tile this like that. So this is pretty much with the printing of the backside here. And other one I did is the general shape of these pills. I started with a rectangle, then I blurred it with a blue grayscale, and by using an histogram select node, I adjusted the thresholds of these blurred edges. This makes me have a rounded rectangle at the end, which I use so much on generating different shapes with height maps. By that, I used a simple blend node by using this outline as an opacity input and isolated the rest of the colors of my printing tile. So next I connected it to the base color output, and this is my final base color output. Next of the approaches are like this, which I generated the pill slots. For that I use a shape node and set the pattern to capsule, which is like that. I used another histogram select node to create a mask of this shape. It also makes me adjust the general size of this pill shape. You will see that if I set the position to different levels, you see that the scale of the pill area changes. And then I use a tile generator to tile these 2x5 like here, and then I use the transformation 2D node to recorrect the aspect ratio of the slots. And then I used another transformation 2D node to adjust the general scale, and other one to position over this outline. And then I used, let's switch to the, for the star, by using the starburst, I generated the wrinkles. You will see that the wrinkles are at the edge of the backside of the pill slots. You can possibly see there are wrinkles barely seen, can be seen here and there. So to create these, I started with a starburst shape and then move it to the left, and I used a mirror grayscale to position it according to the slots. And I took an histogram select from this first capsule and blurred it a little bit. Then I copied these transformation 2D nodes like here with tile generator as well. By copying them, I get the same positioning with the previous slots. So after that, I copied the same for the starbursts, and you will see that I have the starbursts. I have an blurred outline for the outer shape of these capsules, with which are exactly at the same place with this first outline. So we will get back to it. Before that, I used a warp shape to generate some randomness on this planar surfaces. So first, with these outlines, I used a blue grayscale here and used a curve node. You will see that on my reference photo, these pinched shapes exist on the real world photo. So here I blurred the outer shape and used a curve node and created a pinch here. By this, it can't be easily seen by this gradient, but the transition of this black to white transition is pinched at the peak. So I warped this with a Perlin noise that makes a much more random warping on the general pinched gradient. So I have another copy of this blurred shape here, and I multiplied the both of them on together. So that makes me a pinched and sloped shape at the end. So I used an auto level, and you will see that we have a pinched, very bright white at the center, and the outer part is transitioned. So by there, I subtracted the starbursts from this final shape for the backside, and you will see that this generated a simple wrinkles around these peel positions. And I kept this shape, and let's get to the grip pattern. So these are the patterns we are going to create. It's pretty easy. You will see that we have a polygon 2 shape. I enlarged it with a transformation 2D node and tiled it back with a tiny scale, made a blurring a little bit to create a much more convincing shape. Because if I remove this blurry grayscale, you will see that we have a very sharp and unconvincing grip pattern. I'm switching back to the blurred way, reconstructing the blur node back. And next I used a levels node. I'm using this levels node because if you see that if I connect this to here, you will see that these grip patterns will be much more pinched in a way. If I move the middle slider to the left, this controls the general spike shape of this pyramids, tiny pyramids. You will see that if I move it backwards, the shape is eased down. If I move it to the right, the shape will be much more spiky result. And next, I had this non-uniform blur, because you will see that we have all the pattern scattered around this peel surface, but we want this area is planar. You will see it on the reference photo. And here I used a non-uniform blur grayscale to blur this centered area by keeping the other rest of the area with grip pattern. To do that, for the blur map, I use this mask, which we have created here. So this blurs these areas, and the outer part is stay as it is. And using another levels node to adjust this pinchiness of this grip pattern, I blended this wrinkled shape we have created with this grip pattern, because at the last part we were having this grip pattern and planar center of the peel places, and if I subtract it with a low opacity, I get this wrinkled and pinched at the center shape like this. You will see that if I increase it, the shape is much more intense because we are subtracting it from the rest of the grip pattern. So this is more like what we have at the end. So after adjusting levels by cranking up the black level a little bit high, I created the patent number pole at the bottom of the peel area. So here you will see that I have a rectangular shape which I adjusted the sizes here, which is not showing well because of my webcam, but you will see that I just adjusted the, yeah, we are seeing it right now, X and Y numbers, sizes like that. After that, I blurred the same as the same I did before and use the histogram select node to get a rounded corners of this rectangle. And by the transformation 2D node, I moved it here, used a little bit blurring, and then added a text node for a made up patent node for this pills. And next, I used a curve node to create much more pinched extrusion for the numbers, like a typewriter pushed and punched it through. So using this transformation 2D node to place the text over this pole, and the ended height map is more like this. We are not seeing much here. It's not much of recognizable, but you can see that you can easily change the parameters while you're creating this height map and see the results in 3D view much better. And here, after creating this height map, I used an ambient occlusion generator here to create a variation for the roughness map. You will see that I use this ambient occlusion result and blend it over the black with these clouds. So these clouds are placed according to the ambient occlusion. So this generates a tiny variation on the roughness channel, because leaving the roughness as a simple color is not much of helping on creating a natural look on the objects. So I generated this variation on the roughness channel and connected to the roughness output. And here we have covered the base color and the roughness through this texture set. So here the rest is very easy. After we are having this height map, I just connected this height map effect to a normal map generator here, and you will see that our grip patterns and the general wrinkles and the pinches over the peel placement is completed and transferred to the normal map output. I used a simple metallic color for the metallic output and used another ambient occlusion generator and connected to the ambient occlusion output. I'm leaving the height as it is because I won't be using any height map displacement for this side of pills. And finally, opacity map, which we have created at the start, is connected to the opacity output. So this covers the general look of this back side. And let's switch to the front side of this pills. You will see that we are having this shape here, but we have no displacement. Let me adjust it. Normally, I take notes on the graph descriptions about how I set the height scale while generating this height map modeling. So I noted here as 4.6, and let me readjust this height map value, because if you close the application and reopen it, the height map settings are switched back to normal. So by here, let's see, I'm setting the height scale to 4.6, and also we can increase the tessellation factor to get much more smoothed results on the displacement, because if tessellation factor is low, you will see that you will be having pixelated extrusion or displacement on your 3D model. And here it's pretty much the same as the previous graph, because I used most of the shapes that I used there to match the back and front peel placements exactly as they are. So you will see that we have generated this mask as we do for the back side, and there I used another smoothed result for using the display height for the height map to displace the general pills. So here I just use the same tiling, and I have this smoothed placement of this shape. You will see that there are some cross section between these shapes, but it doesn't matter because these pills are not touching each other once we clamp the results of this white and black levels. So here I blended this cross-sectioned shapes with this mask. So at the final we are having this transition smoothed shape with an outline of this mask. And there I used the same warp which I used on the back part, but I lowered the intensity of it to make it the warpness in a tiny way. And you see that once we blended this two by multiply here to keep the outline of this peel placements, I used a blur first, and I used a curve to control the white levels of this extrusion. And you will see that this extrusion is pretty much controlled by this curve node, because after blurring it to smooth out the outline of this shape, you will see that we are having a transition, a direct transition from black to white, which we can call a linear transition. If we control this curve in a different shape, you will see that our transition is also gets a shape according to our reference, which is more like that. Let me show you here. You will see that if you check the reflections, this shape here is not having a linear bumpiness. You will see that there is a sharp extrusion first, and the angle is changing according to the general height top level of this punched shape. So I controlled it like this, and at the end you will see that with warping you will see the general transition like this, and also it is formed on the 3D view like that. After that I blended with multiply like I did previously with this outline. This makes me control to keep the pill placements in their outlines, because here with the blurring and the using curve nodes we have an extension outer extension that exits from the outer mask of this first shape. So we are to keep it as it is, I'm multiplying it with the first mask outline. So here I have the same grip pattern like we did on the back side of this pills, and here you will see the same blurring with non-uniform blur. I adjust the levels to control the intensity of these grips, because if I set the white level too high, you will see the grip pattern will be much more intense at the end. So let's switch back, and after that I blended the general extrusion height map with the grip pattern. But you will see that we don't need to use the grip pattern to be tessellated or displaced with height maps, because this makes too much source consuming on rendering, and we don't need geometric detail on this kind of grips. So before blending with the grip pattern here, I connected the first shape for the peels to the height map output. So as you are seeing it, the height map is formed by this final node, and the rest of the detailing is applied to the normal maps. And here I blended it with the grip maps, and also I copied the same patent node here with that I used for the backside of the peels. And here, after blending these numbers and the placements, I have this final shape, black and white shape here. And then I connected this shape to the normal map and generate this normal map and connect it to the output. You will see that numbers and the grid patterns and also the general shape for the peel extrusions are placed with the normal map as well. I used the final height map for ambient occlusion as well, and I connected it to the ambient occlusion output as well. And here for final touch, I used another ambient occlusion and blended it with the clouds 2 to have a variated roughness result and connected to the roughness channel like this. I used a simple uniform color for the base color, which is full total white like this, and use the gray value for the metallic channel to get a metallic effect like this. And after exporting these texture sets, I switched to the Modo and created a simple plane to apply these textures to its front and back sides of the mesh. And you will see that I have a box and these simple shapes that I used for creating the peel shape. So let me show you like this. It will be easier to show you the UVs. And the textures here. Yes, by selecting the general opacity texture, it was easy for me to place the mesh according to the texture outline. So here you will see that I have a black and white texture at the UV space, and I created this simple plane and placed it over the UV area to match with the texture. And I added the rest of the texture channels, but for the back parts I didn't use a displacement map, or I didn't use the height maps to make a displacement, but the front part I used a displacement map. So as you are seeing a flat geometry here, the height map forms the front surface like that. And you will see that if I move here and there, you will see the 3D view like this. Let me lower the resolution. Right. And you will see the back part has no displacement and the front part has a displacement according to the height maps. And this shows the general normal maps and these effects are just controls the reflection to make a convincing look for the pills, like this. And after rendering these, you will see the results like that. And we have a product visualization and got some pill forms generated with height maps, with simple two-sided graphs. And 50% of these graphs are copied from each other because we were using the same placement for the front and back part of this pill textures. So I hope you liked this approach, and if you have some questions, please ask me through the comment section, and thanks for watching. Goodbye.